Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this new edition of World Today, where we get you the latest news and articles making news around the world. And we're joined today by Dr. Mdحت Khafagi, member of the National Council for Change. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
Thank you.
Sir, we'll start by Ahram Online, and the headline reads, President El-Sisi forms new specialist councils. And the news itself reads, President Abdel Fattah El-Sisi announced the formation of two subsidiary specialist councils aimed at addressing nationwide social and educational issues. El-Sisi issued presidential decrees to form the Community Development Council and the Education and Scientific Research Council. Earlier, the President had announced at Cairo University that special councils will be formed under the auspices of the Presidency to play an active role in all branches of government. Meanwhile, 9 of the Council's 18 members are women, while many others are young, including experts in technology development, medicine, religion, and architecture. Sir, how do you think these councils can serve in confronting Egypt's current challenges?
I think these councils has to be only for execution of any project. It's not for suggesting the solution for any problem, like the same in Europe or in democratic countries. Usually there are many think tanks. Most of them are related to the universities. The East Coast or West Coast, Stanford or Harvard or whatever. And for every problem, for example, economy, finance, medicine, science, physics or something, these are independent councils, or what they call think tanks. And it is present for about 70 or 80 years now in the democratic countries, and they will try to find a solution for every problem. They will not do the research, but they will get the research of other people to execute the translational research.
Right. What about?
And then this with every think tank will, for example, there are 3 or 4 think tanks for economy, and everyone will suggest a solution for the present problem. And this presidential council will choose. And so their function only to from whatever is available, because this will never be independent.
Right. What about the
This would be the same like the councils which Sadat did it, and they failed, all of them.
We hope this time they won't.
They will not, so long as they are not supported by independent think tanks, they will not be able to succeed.
What about the formation of the councils, the members of the council?
They have to be the highest authorities and the best intelligentsia in Egypt. And also we have to benefit or to exploit those Egyptians who were abroad now for the last 30 or 40 years.
Egyptian expats abroad.
Expatriate, because there is, for example, the United States, there are about more than 150,000 Egyptians who has a PhD or a master degree. In reverse, here in Egypt, we have only 73,000. And the difference in sort of their mustawa, you call
the level,
it is much better there than those who are here.
Right, sir, and moving on to daily news, and the headline reads, EU's Ashton to visit Egypt ahead of Gaza Donors Conference. And the news itself reads, European Union Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton is expected to visit Cairo on October 11 for a donors conference on the rebuilding of Gaza Strip. Egypt announced early in September it would host a donors conference jointly chaired with Norway on funding the rebuilding of Gaza Strip following the ravaging war with Israel in July and August. The densely populated Palestinian enclave faces a considerable price tag of $7.8 billion for reconstruction, according to estimates by the Palestinian Authority in September. So how do you see the EU role in supporting Gaza and the peace process?
Well, the European Union is paying now for the last 20 years or 30 years all the expenses of hospitals and all schools. They pay for maintenance, they pay for the paycheck for the teachers, the doctors and everything. They will take care of education and health for the last 20 and 30 years. And so this is a continued role for them for to doing the same thing.
Right.
But it will be going to housing. The houses which were destroyed, about 40,000 units were destroyed. But I think the Arabs has to participate, and also we have to press Israel for compensation for what it did.
Right.
We need compensation from Israel because this is the assault. The assault was done by them.
Right, sir, and moving on to the Daily Star, and the headline reads, Israeli settlers take over 25 homes in East Jerusalem. And the news itself reads, Israeli settlers forcefully took over 25 apartments in Arab East Jerusalem, with the new occupants claiming they had legitimately bought the properties. The incident led to clashes between Arab residents and Jewish settlers in the Silwan neighborhood, which is right outside Jerusalem's old city, near the flashpoint Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. How do you think these incidences will affect the situation and the Palestinian peace process, especially that Cyber Arafat blamed Netanyahu for encouraging the Israelis to take more settlements from the Palestinians?
Well, at first, the Republican Party, American Republican Party, showed that 40% of these units, housing units in these settlements are empty. Because we have an exodus now. For the last 15 years, there is an exodus from Israelis mainly to United States.
Right.
There are about now 3 million Israelis in United States and Canada. And there is only 2 million in Israel. And so these are just a propaganda machine of Netanyahu. Because people are leaving now Israel to re-immigrate again. Because they found that in the last war, they found 90% of the population Israel are under the attack of the Burak missiles, which covers about 120 kilometers from Gaza Strip. And they cannot live under attack forever. So most of them are immigrating. And the Israel managed to prevent these immigrants from having legal work in the United States. And if any company will employ them, the chief of this company will get 2 years in prison. And so they are getting around this law by forming some companies in the United States. So long as you have a company in the United States which employs 4 of the unemployed in the United States, you can get working permanent.
Right, and residency.
So a lot of companies are forming now in New York City for the last 2 years to make this arrangement for those who are immigrating from Israel.
But still Netanyahu is encouraging illegal Israeli settlements.
Yeah, but this will destroy the peace process. Who himself destroyed
even if they're left without
residence. Yeah. No, they will make some, like a summer home or something, but they are not really living in it. And I think if you go to Google, for example, try to find the immigrants from Israel and those immigrants to Israel, you find the immigrants to Israel 17 to 18,000 per year, and you couldn't find any information about immigration from Israel. because they are covering it.
Right, and moving on to the Washington Times, and the headline reads, "Wave of attacks in Shiite parts of Baghdad kill 35." And the news itself reads, "At least 35 people were killed in a wave of car bomb and mortar attacks in mainly Shiite Muslim districts of Baghdad on Tuesday. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attacks, but IS militants claimed several suicide bombings in the capital earlier this year. 2 car bombs exploded in busy streets in the Al-Hurriya district, killing 20 people and wounding 35. How can these attacks, these violent attacks, affect the situation in Iraq and worsen the situation?
Well, they are some sort of a civilian war. They are trying, Daesh is trying to, or there is some intelligence of Israel or otherwise. They want to make war between Sunni and Shia. And so they are inflaming or the rival between them. And so some sort of civil war. It's still the civil war is going on between Daesh and the Shia. But they are inflaming it.
Right, and what do you think is the way out of the current crisis in Iraq?
Well, this Malki was a dictator, and the Sahwa corps, he put them in prison. Who really settled this problem in 2007?
Right.
When they killed Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi, if you remember him, and the Daesh was present there at that time. But they killed their chief, and they settled the Anbar and Nineveh province. But because of his bad management of the state of Iraq and put the leaders of Sahwa corps in prison, it started this problem.
Right, and in a related development, the Wall Street Journal also, the headline reads, "Kurd troops attack Iraq rebels on 3 fronts." Kurdish troops launched offensives against the IS group on 3 fronts in northern Iraq. Troops struck before dawn against a town on the Syrian border north of rebel-controlled second city of Mosul. The troops had entered the town of Rabia on the border with Syria after seizing the villages of Saudiyya and Mahmudiyya. Meanwhile, forces backed by artillery and warplanes were also attacking Zuma, about 40 miles northwest of the city, near the reservoir of Iraq's largest dam. Sir, how can the consequences of these attacks be on the Iraqi economy, especially that they are attacking Kirkuk, which is a main oil hub over there?
Usually, as regards the oil, most of the oil is coming from Basra in the south, and it is safe. The port of Kirkuk was not available for a long time. And when they started for 1 million barrels per day in the area of Kirkuk, it has to go to the Jihan seaport in Turkey through a pipeline, and usually it is destroyed somewhere in the way. And I think the Daesh benefited from the Sunni, who was in Anbar and Nineveh and Diyala, that they were not convinced of Malki policies in these areas, and they are franchising them. And so also Iraq does not need that much of oil, you know, because to depend on oil all the time, that's wrong.
Right, and how could these attacks of Kurds and the U.S. coalition further affect and worsen the uprising in Iraq?
Well, I think at the end they will get over. Daesh. I think they will succeed in getting rid of them, because Daesh will succeed in a guerrilla fighting only. But it will not be able to dominate big areas of lands, because they don't have airplanes, the tanks are limited, which they destroy, and long missiles they will not have. I think they will not be able to get over the Iraq. It is not the same like Yemen. the Houthis was taking a green bus by the Saudis to attack the Al-Qaeda in South Yemen.
Right.
So that they will get rid of Qaeda, because Qaeda was Ansar Sharia, the Qaeda in South Yemen was making a lot of trouble to the Yemenis army, and they couldn't get rid of it. And I think Saudi Arabia was behind this accord between the Houthis and the Yemenis government.
Right, and moving on to the World Bulletin, and the headline reads, Syria refugees in Lebanon face rising violence. And the news itself reads, Syrian refugees in Lebanon are facing increasing violence as tensions in the country rise after rebels kidnapped and killed Lebanese security forces. Human Rights Watch said it had documented a string of attacks by Lebanese residents against Syrian refugees in August and September. The uptick came after militants invaded the border town of Arsal, withdrawing several hostages from the Lebanese police and army. How could the security forces protect the Syrian refugees in Lebanon?
Security, what do you mean by security forces of Lebanon?
Right.
Well, they don't have enough corps troops to do that, you know, because the Lebanese army is only 15,000, 20,000, and the police itself is very minimal also. Also, the Syrians are not welcomed in Lebanon, actually, because there is a lot of factions in Lebanon. There is the Alawites in the north, Alawiyin, and also there are a lot of Shia, and Shia, the dominant population are Shia who are with Hafez al-Assad. So they are not welcomed in this area, Bekaa Valley. The Bekaa Valley is Shia.
Right, moving on to Gulf today, and the headline reads, Iran to give military grant to Lebanese army. The director of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Shamkhani, said that Iran is to give a military grant to the Lebanese army. He added that Iran is boosting security forces that are already backed by Saudi Arabia and the United States. This came during his meeting with Lebanese officials, but he did not give a figure for the grant. How could this step influence the regional conflicts?
Well, most of the Lebanese troops are Shiite, because they are the majority,
Right.
about 55% of the population. And so the army will be the same.
Right.
And also Daesh started to work in the area of Arsal, and they captured some of the Lebanese soldiers. And so if they leave Daesh in this area, it may dominate the north of Lebanon, where the Sunni are living, and also part of Beirut too. There is Sunnis, a lot of Sunnis in Beirut.
Right.
And so they are preventing, by doing that, preventing Daesh from getting hold in
But Daesh
Lebanon.
is spreading right now in many Arab countries.
Well, it's spreading now in Syria and Iraq in concentration.
Right.
But the others are related to the Qaeda. They are the same one. In Algeria, the same one. In Algeria, and also in Egypt, also in Libya, in Yemen, the same thing. They are the same.
How are they financed?
Well, I think all these, about 6 or 7, Daesh and its brothers and sisters, they are the military wing of Muslim Brotherhood. Because the Qaeda was formed by Abdullah al-Futuh in Peshawar in 1989. And he is one of the leaders of Muslim Brotherhood. Muslim Brotherhood has $14 billion right now.
Right.
And they were financed from Mosul banks, and also the gold in Mosul bank, they took it. They took $2 billion in Mosul only.
Right, and moving on to The Guardian, and the headline reads, the British European Union exit wouldn't break my heart, Cameron. Prime Minister David Cameron said it would not break his heart if Britain left the European Union, but added that his preference was for his country to stay in a reformed EU after a new settlement with Brussels. Cameron who has promised to renegotiate Britain's EU membership before offering voters in an in-out referendum by 2017, is under pressure from the anti-EU UK Independent Party and some of his own lawmakers to toughen his rhetoric on Europe. Earlier, Cameron said that he felt about 1,000 times more strongly about our United Kingdom than he did about the European Union. He noted that Britain's relationship with the bloc was not working properly, and he wouldn't argue to stay in the EU if it wasn't in the national interest. How do you think would be the British community's response to this referendum?
Well, the European, if you know how the European Union, in an article in the Foreign Affairs about 1 year ago, it was formed the European Union to form a military bloc against the Soviet Union,
Right.
to defend Europe from Soviet invasion. And so the main thing, instead of fighting each other, Germany with France and Germany with Britain, they formed a bloc, and it was encouraged by the United States so that they will defend themselves instead of the American army against any possible invasion of the Soviet Union.
I think one of the reasons also was forming a strong economic bloc.
But this is the second.
Right.
And the second reason is of the economy. If you see, and so the first reason is out. There is no problem with Soviet Union.
No.
And so there is only the economy. Economic benefit. If you see that the British are actually now, they are not benefiting from European Union because they are not producing countries now. They are bankers of the whole world. They get benefit from insurance and light companies and all this stuff, and also from banking, from giving loans to all companies all over the world. It's the same like Switzerland is doing. And that's why they voted against one currency. And the sterling pound is away from the euro. And so they voted now not to be of the economic bloc. By choosing, they will have a separate currency. And in the European Union, they are second-class citizens. Because the first-class citizens are Germans. Because they are the main producer of everything, machinery and all this stuff, of factories and all this stuff all over the world. They have very good economy. They export more than they import. And so they are second-class citizens in this European Union. And the English people or the British people would like to be the first-class citizens.
Usually. Right, but do you think, in your opinion, did this economic bloc negatively or positively affect the European countries?
Well, I think it affects them so much, especially those countries...
Positively or negatively?
No, positive, of course. For those countries who they have a poor economy. Like, for example, Spain, like Italy, Greece, and the Eastern Bloc, Czechoslovakia and Poland, and, because they can export whatever they produce, and they will import also investment to their countries from. Usually, who pays the difference, really, in the economy of the European Union is Germany.
What about unifying the currency?
It is now the British are away from it, and the unifying the government, the currency, it will prevent the inflation for the poor economy countries like Spain or Italy, because if you leave them, they will issue bank cash more than they produce, and so there will be inflation. They benefit from that. I think European Union it was first the idea of Hitler, the Nazis. It is the idea of Hitler, the European Union. But he tried to form it by force, by
but
military
it was implemented
and then,
a long time
it was implanted politically after Second World War in the 50s by, they suggested the Germans who suggested it. And they convinced the French.
Our distinguished guest, Dr. Mdhat Khafagi, member of the National Council for Change. Many thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, with this we wrap up this edition of World Today. Many thanks for watching and stay tuned for more coming up here on ALTV International.